would see. So it was something that Balki, who directed the film, and I decided that we'd try and keep it as controlled a budget as possible. We set out a budget of 20 crores for that film, including P&A, which is print and advertising. And we managed to bring in the film at 17.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of helps when your father is in the film and he's not allowed to earn any money off the film. So he kind of did me a favor. But so I spent a lot of time on the budget and the execution. I didn't enjoy it because, like I said, because I was acting in the film, that was kind of countering what I wanted to do. But it's, like I said, I spend a lot of time on the budget and figuring it out, and my production team spends a lot of time, doing their recce's and just being absolutely prepared, because I believe that when I'm a producer, I don't believe this when I'm an actor, but as a producer, I believe that on set, you should be just executing your job. You shouldn't be creating at that point of time. The creation has to happen before you get on floors. Film parlance is when you're on floors, means when you're shooting the film. It literally has to be executing. And at that point of time, I don't, as a producer, have the liberty to allow anybody to have creative freedom. So if you have decided to shoot 2 pages a day, and by the end of the day, you've only canned 1 page because, the actors want to try it in different ways, I have to take a call at that point of time. And at that point of time, I need to be emotionally removed enough from the film to say, okay, you're up, what you got is what you get, and that's it. And the actor in me would obviously want more time to carry on, because it is a creative medium as well. So as a producer, I have no problem handling the execution part of it. As an actor, I have a huge problem with it, yeah.
Going forward, do you think that you're going to play a larger role in filmmaking? Now that you are an actor, you have produced a couple of films, many films actually. So going forward, are we going to get to see you as a filmmaker?
I hope not. I don't know direction. It's very difficult. And in keeping my attention span in mind, I think I'd be a terrible director. Yeah, I like acting. I'm good at receiving instruction. And I'm good at providing an environment to make a film. Direction is not something I don't even think about it. I don't think about those lines that, maybe one day. I don't know, maybe 20 years down the line I'll have something to say and I want to make a film in that way. I don't want to say never. But currently the state of mind I'm in, no, I've never really thought about it.
Abhishek, we have seen you in many fun roles like as Bunty or in a serious roles as Jai Dixit, but there are other roles which you have also got and played that of Brij Bhushan in Antar Mahal with the Rituparnas. So it's a very different role, typically what we see you in Bollywood movies. So how difficult is it for an actor like you to manage the 2 sides of the story, a very serious role as Brij Bhushan or the other as Bunty?
Well, Antar Mahal is something I did for Rituda, who is a very, very old family friend. And he said, I'll make a movie with you in 15 days. I said, okay. And that was it. I actually read the script on the flight to Kolkata to shoot the film. And but I think that's kind of what keeps it exciting to be an actor, that you get to do a variety of roles, you get to play a variety of characters. I think it'd be terribly boring if I just played the same character in every film over and over again. For me, I mean, it would be excruciating for the audience, but for me as well, as a creative person, to wake up every morning, be inspired to go out to work, it's good that things keep changing up. Say hi from me. Oh, you just snitched on him, huh? Him, not me. So, everything okay? Okay, cool. So yeah, I think it's what keeps it exciting.
I generally throw them out of class if they do that in my class.
Oh no, it's cool. I don't mind. you have to. Yeah.
I understand.
We need to keep them on the seats. For an actor, it's important. Be on your phone. Be with your website. Come buy a ticket. That's all. So it's exciting. If you're asking me from an acting perspective, how is it? It's difficult, it's challenging, but that's the way it should be. I think it would be very boring if it all came very easily to you. I think you, as an actor, I like to take my next job as a film, which is something I perhaps haven't done before. I mean, barring the few sequels that I've done. But it has to be a new challenge. It has to be something as an actor which you feel, okay, this is going to give me sleepless nights, and this is something I'm going to have to work really hard on.
Okay. Abhishek, we would now like to move on to something else which you have been involved in recently. And I guess you're very passionate about that enterprise of yours. You have certainly given Kabaddi a new name in India and in the international forum. And why this is important is because this game is very humble, and it belongs, it originates from rural India, and actors like you and personalities like you giving it a position in world stage. That's commendable first.
Thank you.
But given that, I would like to ask you, what made you to, conceptualize and get into this business of...
About 2 years ago, Charu Sharma, you all know Charu Sharma is a very famous commentator, right? So Charu met me socially at some dinner, and he said, hey, I know you're a big football fan. He follows me on Twitter, and he said, I know you're a big football fan. Have you ever thought of, doing something with some other sport? I said, what sport? He said, Kabaddi. And that was like a bit, left field for me. I'm like, what? Kabaddi? People still play Kabaddi? I mean, that's something we used to play in school and, when you were kids. So he said, yeah. And would you be interested in something like this? And I said, yeah, why not? But, he says, would you like to see? I said, yeah, if you've modernized the sport or whatever. He said, yeah, it's a completely different sport from what we remember. And he took me to a Kabaddi match, and I was blown away that there were 10,000 people watching this one match. And it was played on mats, and there were these really athletic guys, and it was high energy. It was exciting to watch. And I was just blown away by it. I said, why has nobody thought of doing something with this? He said, well, I am, and I'm putting together a league, and would you be interested in it? And very honestly, it was a very instinctive reaction that, yeah, this is something you just have to do. When you see something, it just clicks, and you know that this is right. It was just that. It literally fell on my lap. And then we set about putting the league together, and then obviously we had the other franchisees come on. I was very clear that what was my goal in Kabaddi was, I'd like to believe it was noble on some level, but also, you wanted to make a difference. So I was very keen to take up a team in a place where the infrastructure for sports wasn't as good as they would be in some of the metro cities. So I chose Jaipur. Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Vizag, these all have nice infrastructure for sports. Patna, Jaipur don't really. So I chose Jaipur, and we set about doing the groundwork for it. And I still remember before the league started, and everybody was very nervous because, D-Day was coming up, and suddenly the audience was going to see it. And, I thought Star TV did an absolutely brilliant job marketing, the entire Kabaddi League. And I was speaking to some of the executives at Star, and I said, what is a good number of viewers to know that, okay, we've done a good job? And they said, look, we've set a very aggressive benchmark for ourselves. We are hoping that we get to hit 50 million viewers. I said, is that doable? So they said, it's doable. It's going to be tough, but it's doable. But we want, we've put in so much effort into it, we want to be aggressive. And if we hit 50 million, we're through, and I guarantee you that a second season will happen. This was at a stage when nobody even knew if we could sustain the Pro Kabaddi League. And what blew everybody away was, I think it just made such a huge impact when it started, that before the end of the first season as well, I mean, in a place like Mumbai, which is like, the birthplace of Indian cricket almost, and every nukkad, every gully, everybody's playing cricket. And suddenly I'd be driving somewhere and people would be playing Kabaddi on the streets, to in the societies, to in schools. I'd stop at a traffic light and people, in a rickshaw next to me would say, hey, Sai 5, Sai 5. And it was amazing to see it resonate so well. And, you know, setting out a figure of 50 million viewers, and by the end of the season, which was 6 weeks, Kabaddi actually, we hit 493 million viewers. And that's, and, you know, the very same sponsors that we were running after to come and give us some money to sponsor our teams, who refused to come on board, were now calling us saying, hey, can we be associated in season 2? So that just goes to show that how much it resonated with the Indian people. I think the reason for this is that it's widely played. And I was under the same misconception that Kabaddi is a rural sport. And I told Charu this, that, you know, it's predominantly a rural sport that's played more in northern India. And he said, well, first and foremost, Kabaddi is a derivative of a Tamil word, which is Kaipiddi, which is to hold hands. It is played pan-India. The Kabaddi Federation has state teams from each and every state. And he says, in Mumbai city, how many Kabaddi clubs do you think there are? So I said, okay, this is a trick question. So I acted over smart. I said 50. So he said, no, 1,500. It's just something we just don't know. We just hadn't put the spotlight onto Kabaddi. It's, you know, it's there. The people are playing it. And just the way I think the success of the Pro Kabaddi League goes to show that it's a very popular sport. Yes, it's very television friendly. I think they packaged it brilliantly. But they made a product which was exciting to watch, and it's a product that people know about. So I just think it was more about just bringing it into the limelight. And, you know, we're thankful. Due to the success of it, now we have the next season starting in March, and now it's going to be a biannual event as opposed to just, you know, once a year. And, yeah, so now everybody's preparing for the second season, and, you know, they're very, very bullish about it. They're confident about it, because I think we've got, again, like I said, similar to films, we found something that's very desi, and it's very cool. This is our sport. This is India's indigenous sport. It's over 3,000 years old. It's, you know, you can trace back its origins to the Mahabharata. That is, I mean, that's why you have one raider against 7, because it goes back to the origins of Abhimanyu and the Chakravyuh. That's the actual origins of how Kabaddi started. There was one Abhimanyu, there were 7 Chakravyuhs, and that's how it all started off. So it's an ancient sport that's been played throughout. I mean, apart from some of your younger students, I'm sure at least most of your faculty, we've all played Kabaddi as kids, you know, and so it's another look at, in terms of cinema, where suddenly it's becoming cool to be desi again. This is our own sport, and it's ours, and we're good at it. We're the undisputed champions. We've never lost a World Cup. There have been 5 World Cup Kabaddis. And to put in perspective, more nations play Kabaddi than they do cricket. 35 nations play Kabaddi worldwide. And India has never lost the World Cup. We've never lost the gold at the Asian Games. So we're good at it. It's ours, and it's cool.
Abhishek, let me ask you, if you have to take Kabaddi to an international forum, what would the steps that you need to take?
Well, I think first and foremost, because this is stuff we've all discussed, we've got a business plan for it. The first step is to get a very strong and sound foundation in India. There is another Kabaddi league, which is of a different style of Kabaddi called Ring Kabaddi, which is being played internationally. I don't know how well it's done or how it's not done. But the idea is, see, we have a lot of foreign players already in the Pro Kabaddi League. It was mandatory that in every team, there are 8 teams, that you have to have 3 foreign players. And in my team, we had a Nepalese, we had a guy from Taiwan. You know, we had Koreans, we have Iranians, Afghanis, Nigerians, Kenyans, Britishers, Canadians, Americans. They all play Kabaddi. Denmark, Iceland has just signed up with the World Kabaddi Federation. So the interest is growing, but the interest will peak when they have a structure to come through. So you have the Pro Kabaddi League. I think the next step will be for the franchises to start setting up academies, especially a youth academy. So, you know, kids feel they have a complete structure to go through, play for the local team in the Pro Kabaddi League, and then graduate onto the Indian team. Once you have this kind of structure coming through is when you have international interest coming into it. There's already a huge amount of interest. And I think with the success of the Pro Kabaddi League, suddenly a lot of people internationally have started waking up and are talking about it. I mean, for CNN to do a half-hour program on what is kabaddi, it just goes to prove that people are interested, that there's something new that's coming out. Once that is set up and you have a proper infrastructure and system that people can come through to train themselves, that is when you can open it up a bit more. And obviously, I think the next big step for kabaddi would be to, to get people to play kabaddi at the Olympics. But there is a criteria for that. The reason it's not in the Olympics is the International Olympic Committee has a rule that a minimum of 55 nations need to play the sport in order for it to be entered into the Olympics. So after the Pro Kabaddi League, I was speaking to Mr. Gehlot, who's the chairman of the International Kabaddi Federation. 3 more countries have signed up. So you have to, keep talking about it, have an ongoing tournament and a league, which will popularize it more. And that's when more nations, and that's how it's going to popularize. That's how you take it international.
Abhishek, tell us something about your interest in football, a sport that I'm passionate about. I'm a hardcore fan of Kolkata, and because I'm a fan of Saurav Ganguly, and you managed a close draw, so okay, but
they managed a close draw.
So can you please?
I'm half Bengali, by the way, but still. Currently, I'm Madrasi, so it's okay. Right. So, like I said, I studied in a British boarding school since the age of 9. And anybody who's been to a British boarding school knows that, it's football first, everything else rest after that. And football is something I've enjoyed watching since I was a kid. I've followed football since I was a child. I always wanted to do something with football because it's a sport I really enjoy watching. It's a sport I follow very closely. And one of my dreams was to make a difference to Indian sport in whatever way. Kabaddi was the first step in that. So like I say, there's a popular belief that your first child is out of love, the second one you think about and you plan. So football was that planned decision to come in and try and make a difference. ISL was happening. I did approach them, and I bought the Chennai team. Also, what spurred me on was over the summer I was in Brazil for the World Cup. And I had the pleasure to meet Mr. Blatter, Sett Blatter, who's the head of FIFA. And he had a wonderful chat, and he said, what's astonishing is 1.2 billion people, and you can't put 11 people on a pitch. And that, I'm sorry, but it really pissed me off. I'm like, really? That's so true. We have no dearth of talent in our country, but there's no system for them to come through. I mean, I live in Mumbai, and I live right by the beach. And you see some of the boys play football on the beach. It's unbelievable. In Kerala, they have brilliant footballers. A lot of the national football players have come from Kerala. There's great talent, but they have no system to come through. Yeah. So let's do something about it. And so I think ISL started from a vision of a few people who really wanted to make a difference to Indian football. And the main aim for the ISL is that by 2026 we should have an Indian squad in the World Cup. And if by 2026 we don't, then we're doing something wrong. But in order to have a team prepared to play amongst the best nations in football by 2026, you need to start today. I feel it's going to take an entire generation to train and to go through rigorous training to be able to qualify for the World Cup finals and then go play on that stage. So it all started from the want to do this. The majority of the ISL's work actually is happening in what we call the grassroots program. There's a mandate to all the franchises that by the end of the second year, they should have had at least 1,000 schools, which they kind of adopt, in which they take their children, they train them, and then we have to set up our youth academies, which a lot of them have already started. Kolkata already has. Chennai, because we were the latest to enter the ISL, we're in the process of setting that up. Kerala has, the Kerala Blasters have a wonderful youth academy that they set up with David James, who's their coach, and with Sachin. And obviously the idea is to train the youth. You have to catch them young, put them through a program for a good 10, 12 years. If you catch a 8, 9-year-old today, put them through proper training with the best coaches, in another 10, 12 years' time, when they're playing senior football, they can represent the country. So that's where most of the work of ISL is happening. So everybody that got involved in ISL obviously are very enthusiastic about football, but they want to make a difference to Indian football.
Okay. So Abhishek, in short, would you describe yourself as an actor first or an entrepreneur first?
An actor first. Always. I think that's my core capability. Sports is more passion-driven for me than anything else. It's just something I really wanted to do, something I believe in. But acting will always be my first love and what I'm always going to do. So you're going to have to handle me for a lot longer.
Okay, so going aside the serious discussion about his entrepreneurship ventures, we'd like to know a few things about the kind of person and the aspirations that you have as an actor. So my first question to you, if you were to feature in a Hollywood movie, which actor would you be, like yourself to be featured along with? Hollywood actor.
Maybe we should ask them that question, right? I find this very tough. I don't know. I'd like to be slightly arrogant and think that, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
What about the actress?
What actress would I like to be?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine being an actor. Which actress would I like to be?
No, what actress, you would like yourself to be featured with in the Hollywood?
Oh, featured with?
Yes.
Oh. I'm a huge fan of Audrey Hepburn. I know it's not going to be possible for me, but I absolutely adore Audrey Hepburn. I love Julia Roberts as well. Yeah.
So just like your father, classic. What kind of roles do you see yourself playing in a Hollywood movie if you were to feature in a Hollywood movie?
I've never thought about it. It has to be something that inspires me. I'm not the kind of actor who strategizes a lot, which might work against me at times. But I believe that somewhere at the core of what we do, it has to be an emotional decision. It has to be a decision that that your heart tells you. You should do a film because you want to do it, not because it's going to make you the next big superstar. So you have to base it on that. So I've never said that I want to do an action film or I'll do a social drama. It has to be a story that really inspires you, a story that you want to actually, at the end of the day, see it on screen as a viewer. So I've never been able to answer these questions. I think it all depends on what kind of role it is.
Moving on, Abhishek, I read about you that you have a process of dealing with your failures in films, and we deal with failures in life always as students, as professors. What would your message be and the takeaway, from your own experience, how to deal with failures in life?
Well, I think the most important thing is to accept the fact that you are going to fail. What goes up has to come down. Life is going to be filled with failure. And you shouldn't look upon it negatively. I never did. I always looked upon it as an opportunity to learn. And I think that's the most important. I think if you open yourself up to the notion that a failure is not a setback, it's actually an opportunity, then I think you'll be fine. I always wanted to use something of mine which did not work according to plan to learn from and to try and improve myself. Like I said, you're not always going to get it right. There's no actor on earth who's only made hit films. Everybody's had their fair share of failures, and you've got to learn from that. You can't really run from the wind. You just have to trim your sails and move on. So I think open yourself up to the fact that a failure is not there to set you back. It's actually an opportunity.
Given an opportunity, Abhishek, and I'm sure a lot of us would like to know this, would you be interested in taking a class at IIM Kozhikode?
No, I think you have great faculty. I'd love to come attend a class, though. I was just being told that you have like 5-6 day programs. You never know. Maybe I'd come back.
So what course would you be interested in teaching?
I won't teach. I'd like to learn. Marketing. I'd love to learn about marketing, planning, because you don't think Indian films are planned well. So yeah, strategy and marketing.
I'm a marketing professor, but anyway.
I'll sit with you after this.
What about a course on impression management, Abhishek? Incidentally, that's a course offered by the humanities area over here, because certainly you have left a lasting impression on the most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah, since you said she's the most beautiful, I don't think I need classes in that. Ace that, A+. I'll give you classes in that.
All right, before we close, we'll take a few questions from the audience. Abhishek would be answering, not me for a change. So anybody would like to ask Abhishek a question over here?
I have a question. Can I have a coffee, please? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah,
Just coffee?
Just coffee, black coffee. Thank you. Right, fire away, guys. No? I'm that boring? Sir, hi.
Microphone.
As a faculty here, you mentioned that the films are becoming racy. But is that the only reason that films are not being shot abroad? Or
No.
I thought that most of the time there's a lot of cost saving taking out, and places like Switzerland all have already have the sets, ready-made sets for Indian cinema.
Yeah.
But is that, but with
No, that's not the only reason. Although I have to add that a lot of these countries are giving a lot of incentives to come shoot there. They give you a lot of tax cuts, subsidies. So they are giving a lot of incentives to cinema in general. Especially, say, for example, of late, Eastern Europe has really opened up, and they're giving a lot of incentives to come. So it's not that. I think it's just more based on what the story requires. When I first started acting in early 2000s, if you're going to shoot a song, you go abroad and shoot it. It's just, oh, it looks nicer. But because the subjects have become stronger, I feel, and now they don't see the requirement for that, it's purely based on what your story is. Yeah. Hi.
I'd like to ask you about sports or...
You can, but I have no idea where you are. So, hi.
I'd like to know more about sports or entrepreneurial career and what sports would you offer to
One of the things that I really want to make a difference to in India is to change a certain mindset that we have, that sports is khelkood, and sports is not a viable career option. I think with the success of many of these leagues coming up with IPL, look at today, people actually think about becoming a cricketer as a profession. That's because we've proved that there is a great way to, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. So, thank you. No, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks very much.
Even if you're being an actor, the professor doesn't get talk to the actor.
Would you like some coffee? I've got a lot of influence over here. So, I think, setting up these leagues is going to help change that mindset. And if more people are even wanting to study it, I think that's going to make an even bigger impact. So what would be my tips to you? Definitely go ahead, do it. Because I think we need 2-3 examples of people that have gone out, studied this, and made a success out of it. In life, unfortunately, unless you don't make a success out of something, it's never really followed greatly, right? So do it. Be passionate about it. In sports, very little happens if you're not really passionate about it. So go out there, do it. I feel there's a huge vacuum, especially in India, in sports management and in entrepreneurship because we haven't really brought it down to a science yet. In the West, if you see, for example, I've been spending a lot of time with a lot of these foreign football teams. It's a corporate structure. It's handled like a corporate. So I think, we still have, I think, a good 10-15 years till we reach that level. But I think that the start has to be with passion for sport. And that should be your starting point to take off from.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. Hi.
I'm a doctoral student here. So anyway, I want to ask you on adding the question which she asked, why don't you go forward and have some sports league for females only? Like starting with females, not starting with males.
Yeah. I'll tell you, what we're doing in halfway through the first season of the Pro Kabaddi League, I sat down with Mr. Mahindra, who's one of the promoters of the Pro Kabaddi League, Mr. Anand Mahindra and Charu, and we're actually working towards starting the first Women's Pro Kabaddi League. It's one of the few sports where the level of play between the men and women is almost equivalent. Unfortunately, perception-wise and financially, these are all big risks. all right? And I explained myself. What I'm saying is, when you're starting something new in the sporting field, everybody seems to think that the men have a higher standard of play than the women. Now, that could be true in certain sports. I mean, physically, men can throw a shot put further than a woman. Fine, okay, that's a physical attribute. Kabaddi is one of those few sports where they're almost exactly the same. I've actually seen the men's senior Indian national team play against the women's senior, and they actually practice with each other because they're almost as good. But because it is an enterprise, because it is a business, somewhere you have to make a start. And I'm okay with that. I'm not here to make a political statement. I'm here to do something for the sport, right? So if I want to do something for women's kabaddi, if that means I have to go through and start up the Pro Kabaddi League for men and make it a success, so people say, okay, kabaddi is working, let's see how the women doing it, I'm fine with that, as long as your end result is what you want. So the Women's Kabaddi League is something we're working very actively towards, and we hope within the next 18 to 24 months we should have something up and running. And obviously then what I want to do in Chennai, we've already started work on that, is in our grassroots program, we're encouraging a lot of girls to come in as well. Because what I would like is not to start a women's football league, is what I'd like to do is train these children together, the boys and the girls, so that their standards are exactly the same. And then when these people reach their peak, that's when you start it, to prove to people that the women can do it as well as the guys can.
We are not taking any more questions. Abhishek, I must thank you personally on behalf of all of us.
Oh, thank you. We have to go?
See you here.
I don't mind staying, by the way. He has to go. He has to go.
May I call on stage Professor Kulbhushan Baluni to hand over a memento to our esteemed guest, Mr. Abhishek Bachchan.
Should I remove this? Thank you.